Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nupehadda, and today we're going to do a archetype review, or at least a sub-archetype review, I should say. Shadow Six Samurais. Now, Six Samurais haven't been around for a while, and they actually skipped over on the pendulum things of that because we did get a Synchro and Exceed monster, but now we have the Shadow Six Samurais. Now, before we go into any further, there's one thing I have to mention. All of the main deck monsters, Shadow Six Samurais at least, have a secondary effect that activates in the graveyard. Whenever exactly one Six Samurai monster is being destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card instead. That being said, I'm not going to keep repeating that for each monster I'm about to list off here, because that'll just take way too long and it'll be obnoxious. So, without further ado, let's get into this. The first monster we need to talk about is Shadow Six Samurai Doji. He is a dark, level 4, 1700 attack, 1200 defense, a non-tuner, with an effect of when another Six Samurai monsters is normal or special summon on your field while this monster is on the field, you can send one Six Samurai card from your deck to your graveyard. This is actually pretty good and pretty bad at the same time. For one, it doesn't do anything for you on the field. However, it could set you up for plays such as Cunning of the Six Samurai, Soul Charge, or anything of that magnitude to bring out a monster from your graveyard to the field. That being said, since he's 1700 attacker, he can bring out Inishi or Iru from the deck, and vice versa, with asceticism of the Six Samurai. So, there's not much to say about him, but I do want to mention that he might be as a one-of in the decks. We'll just have to see how it goes. Secondly, Shadow Six Samurai Fuma. This is a wind level 1, a tuner monster, 200 attack, 1800 defense, with the effect that this card is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can special summon one Six Samurai monster from your deck except Shadow Six Samurai Fuma. Now, being a tuner is good, so that does give you some options. Being a level 1 also gives us some options to go into level 4 shenanigans, like Armory Arm or something of that nature, or maybe some other level 4 synchro monsters that we could go into. I would have to double check myself on that. But there are two monsters that he can also bring out: Chamberlain of the Six Samurai and Legendary Six Samurai Kageki, because they are both 200 attackers. Same can be said about them bringing him out. So, all in all, he's not bad. He doesn't have a high attack, which means that you're not going to be ramming him into anyone to get his effect going off, but at the same time, he can bring out any Six Samurai, even Grandmaster of the Six Samurai, and he's our most highest attacker that we have. So, the next card is Shadow Six Samurai Ginba. He is also a fire, a level 2, a tuner, 500 attack, 2100 defense. When this card is normal summon, you can target one of your banished Six Samurai monsters and add it to your hand. Now, to point out, this is also a tuner, as I said. So, he can also be used to bring out Shien, possibly level 6, 7, whatever you need. But also, he is 500 attack, which only one monster he can bring out with that, and vice versa, and that is the Spirit of Six Samurai. Spirit of Six Samurai is a level 3, 500 attacker. Pretty much, it can equip itself to a Six Samurai monster, it will gain 500 attack, and it has protection. Plus, whenever you destroy a monster on the field, you get to draw one card. So, being able to bring this out with asceticism is a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing, because sometimes you don't really want to get him out. You know, with a asceticism play. There's other better cards, but I can also see this as being a one-of. That being said, there's not much I can really say. Sorry, I dozed off there. But other than that, his ability to add a Six MRI from the banished pile to your hand is quite interesting. Granted that all, as I said earlier, that they all have the ability to banish themselves to protect the Six MRI monster on the field, but it has to be exactly one. So we'll have to see how that goes. The next one, Shadow Six Samurai Hadasami. As I said, I'm not good with names, so please bear with me. She is a water level 3, a non-tuner, with an attack at 1600 attack and 1500 defense. You can banish 2 Six Samurai monsters from your graveyard and or face up on your field, then target a Six Samurai monster in your graveyard except Shadow's Six Samurai Hatsumi. Special summon it. You can only use this effect, Shadow Six Samurai Hasami, once per turn. Now, she can go with the last one we talked about, which was Gemba. And she banishes cards from the graveyard, specifically samurai monsters, while Gemba can add one to your hand. Especially whenever he is normal summon. Now, unfortunately, he can't do it when he's special summon, but that is besides the point. Hasami, she's a 1600 attacker, which means she can get cards like Hand of the Six Samurai or her younger version. I don't have a list of what her name is, but effectively she can get 2 monsters and vice versa, which says them the Six Samurai. So she can be useful, and she's also level 3, which means you can go into rank 3 plays, which include Missing X Saber Invoker. So all in all, it's not too bad. The next one, and I know I'm going to butcher the name on this one, Shadow Six Samurai Kazaru. He's a Earth, level 4. He's a non-tuner, 1900 attack, 1000 defense. When this card is special summoned, you can add a Six Samurai monster from your deck to your hand that has a different attribute from any monster you control. Now, keep in mind, this is not an aestheticism target, which means you're never going to get him out with it. However, you can use Missing X Saber Invoker to bring him out and get his effect going off. You have to remember, however, any monsters you can currently control, you cannot get the attribute of a monster, Six Samurai wise, from your deck to your hand. So, if you just have the Earth monsters, you can get anything else but Earth. There's not much I can say about it. He's good for attack power wise, I guess. I do like the fact that he will go well with bring out stuff that we need. I just feel like that he could have been an aestheticism target, maybe 18 or at least a 21 or something of that nature. But that's just me on that. And lastly, for the monsters, this one is actually in the extra deck. So, this is Shadow Six Samurai Rehan. Requires 3 Six Samurai monsters with different attributes. Must first be special summoned from your extra deck by sending the above cards you control to the graveyard. You do not use polymerization. Cannot be used as a fusion material. Once per turn, you can banish 1 Six Samurai card from your hand or face up on the field, then target a card on the field and banish it. If a Six Samurai monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Alright, and I do apologize for not giving out his stats, but he is a light, level 5, a non-tuner, 2400 attack, 2400 defense. Now, we can get monsters on the field, but is it justifiable to bring him out? I want to experiment with this before I make a conclusive evidence of what I'm about to say and everything like that. But it looks cool, but from my experience, anything that looks cool on paper does not necessarily translate into play. So he could work, or he could be more of a disappointment to us. Him being a light doesn't matter. Like, nothing of stat wise matters and everything like that, because Shein is 2,500 all around. Like, there's no Shein monster that's a boss monster or anything like that that is under 2,500. He is either 25 or is higher. So this is not a Shein monster, however. So I would have to say at least try one. If you feel like you need more than one, go for it. That concludes all the monsters. Now we have one spell card, Shadow Art of the Six Samurai. It is a quick play spell, so you can use it at any time within reason. Send one monster you control to the graveyard. Target one of your banished Six Samurai monsters, special summon it. You can only activate one Shadow Art of the Six Samurai once per turn. This is pretty much Cunning of the Six Samurai for banished Six Samurai monsters. However, it does say monsters you control, so instead of Six Samurai. So ideally speaking, and we'll have to wait until they give us the correct translation when they bring it to the TCG, but if you can capture one of your opponent's monsters, which Six Samurais do have the ability to, because we have Shein Spy, or not Shein Spy, but we do have other cards that allow us to grab an opponent's monster, we can use their monster to bring out one of our monsters back from the banish pile. But that's more speculation on my part. I would have to actually see it being played and see how well it works. I would at least run one of this along with Cunning, but I believe Cunning is still the better choice. But I want to test it out before I make my final conclusion on that. And last but not least, the trap card. The Six Shinobi. It is a normal trap. If you control six samurais with different attributes, you can skip your opponent's next turn. Alright, and this is pretty much where we're going to talk big here. To bring out six samurais with different attributes within a few turns is hard. Not because of it being hard to summon monsters or anything like that, but there's a few reasons. One, we don't have the resources necessary to do this, and we do not have a recovery and reward system like modern day decks do. We do have the recovery system, but we don't have the rewards now. So what I mean by that is that the recovery system for newer decks and everything like this is usually either to protect or to enable to float with an effect and everything. And the reward system usually means something that has happened after the recovery system. Because what happens, like, I know I'm not explaining this well, but the biggest example of this would have to be Shadal's, Satel Knights, and Burning Abyss. Burning Abyss would be the greatest example of this, of a recovery and a reward system, because that is pretty much what they do. Is whenever they die, they float, which is the recovery part, and the reward system is anything that has happened afterwards. Now, Six Samurais don't have this. They have a recovery system now because of the shadows of the Shadow Six Samurais, but they don't have a reward system. Now, some would argue, well, you're getting the reward by keeping your samurais on the field. That's not the reward. That's just the recovery part. That's just keeping your samurais alive. And the reward system would be, getting our samurai to your hand as quickly as possible, or draw a card or anything. The biggest issues with samurais is we don't keep resources in our hand for very long. We pretty much wipe out our hand by a turn or two. And that's one of the reasons why Max C was always ran as a 3 of in our deck, because we just don't have the resources to keep up. Our biggest thing is that we push to disable our opponent by spell and trap cards for the main reasons. That's why we always ran Notori Beast and everything like that, is because you can't rely on your monsters to stay on the field for long if they get overpowered. So Shien would be able to stay on the field, but Notori Beast was only there to keep spells and traps in line. Well, Notori Beast / Barkia. But that being said, do I see this as helping Six MRIs? Yes, it does help a little bit, but this will never be meta unless we get more support that gives us more of a reward system along with recovery, and or if we get Gateway to Six Samurai back, at least to 2. 1 or 2 would be fine. But we need something that will allow us to keep continuing. The problem is, however, from what I've seen in Japan right now, when I look up these newer cards and everything like that, and they already have it in the system for Dev Pro and all that, is there's no reason the Gateway to 6 will ever come off the ban list here and make the deck too broken. So, in conclusion, this will help us for casual play, but you'll never see this deck top at Nationals or Worlds. Maybe get up to the top 64 at a regional, but that's pushing it. I want this deck to be good, but I also have to realize of all the shortcomings that it has. And being a professional Six MRI player, I can already tell you that most of this doesn't really help. It will for casual play, sure. I mean, casual play will be fun, but if you're playing against Zulus or True Kings or anything of that nature, you're not going to have a good time. So, in conclusion, until I can get proper testing and everything like that, I would say right now is not the greatest time for Six Samurais to come back in terms of a national level. Now, casually, yeah, try. I mean, the worst case scenario is it doesn't do anything. Best case scenario, you're going to be irritating people with the trap card. But all in all, I would say at least try it. I don't see these being expensive because I just don't see them being highly valued for competitive players. But for anyone who wants to have fun with Six Samurais, go for it. Anyone who wants to play casually, go for it. Anyone who just wants to hang out with their friends and everything like that, just play a simple game, go for it. If you are a competitive player, skip this entirely because it's not your cup of tea and you're not welcome to it. That's what I have to say about it. All in all, I do all thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a good night.